Have you ever wondered if everything you see about the Wild West in movies is really true? Those fearless cowboys, ruthless outlaws, and shootouts on every corner seem to portray a world that borders on total chaos. But what if I told you that the reality was quite different? Life in the Wild West, although full of challenges, was much more complex and fascinating than Hollywood makes it seem. Want to know what it was really like to live back then? Get ready for a journey that will uncover truths about the Wild West that the media has never told you. Are you ready to discover a side of the Wild West that few people know? False depictions. When we think of the Wild West, movies and stories often paint a vivid picture of cowboys living in lawless chaos, with constant shootouts and a rough and tumble lifestyle. But what if the reality was far different from these dramatic portrayals? The Wild West, often romanticized as a land of endless adventure and danger, was actually a place of varied experiences, challenges, and, surprisingly, a fair amount of order. It wasn't just about shootouts and outlaws, it was also about hard work, community building, and the everyday struggles of those who lived there. Historians revealed that life in the Wild West was indeed wild, but not always as depicted in Hollywood. The vast region, stretching from Texas to the West Coast, was sparsely governed, leading to a mix of lawlessness and self-regulation. Movies often exaggerate the violence and drama, while in reality, many aspects of life involved routine challenges and efforts to establish a sense of order and community. Understanding this helps us appreciate the real history behind the myths and recognize the true spirit of those who lived through it. Movies and media tend to focus on the most dramatic and sensational aspects of the Wild West, often leaving out the nuanced reality of daily life. For example, while Hollywood depicts constant gunfights, the truth is that many people live through periods of relative peace and hard work. Recognizing these discrepancies between portrayal and reality allows us to gain a deeper, more accurate understanding of this fascinating period in history. Territory and time. The Wild West covered a vast expanse of the United States, stretching from parts of Texas to the West Coast, and was predominantly an unregulated frontier during the 1850s to the 1890s. This large area, often described as a land of no one, lacked centralized federal oversight, contributing to its reputation as a chaotic and violent place. The absence of strong governance allowed for a variety of experiences and interactions, which were often exaggerated or oversimplified in popular media. The time period of the Wild West, from the mid-19th century to the early 20th century, was characterized by rapid expansion and settlement. The challenges faced during this era included navigating vast and often harsh landscapes, establishing new communities, and dealing with conflicts over land and resources. Understanding this broader context provides insight into the complexities of life on the frontier and the various forces shaping it. This era of the Wild West was not just about the dramatic encounters and legendary figures often depicted in movies. It was also a time of significant social, economic, and political development. By exploring the actual historical context, we gain a more nuanced view of the era and the many factors that contributed to its unique character. Pioneers and cowboys. The pioneers and cowboys of the Wild West played crucial roles in shaping the frontier. Pioneers, including fur trappers and settlers, were among the first to venture into the unknown territories. Their efforts in exploring and mapping the region laid the groundwork for future settlement. Cowboys, on the other hand, became iconic figures known for their expertise in handling cattle and horses, with skills that were essential for the booming cattle industry. The introduction of cattle and mustangs by the Spanish in the 17th century created a foundation for the cowboy lifestyle. Cattle that had gone wild in the absence of mission control were eventually tamed and used in ranching, while mustangs provided a crucial advantage due to their size and stamina. This dynamic between pioneers and cowboys highlights the adaptability and resourcefulness required to thrive in the Wild West. The day-to-day life of cowboys involved more than just riding and roping. They faced challenges such as crossing dangerous territories and dealing with conflicts with indigenous peoples. Their role was central to the economic and social development of the region, demonstrating the importance of their skills and perseverance in overcoming the hardships of frontier life. Challenges and solutions. Navigating the Wild West was fraught with challenges, including traversing territories inhabited by indigenous peoples and areas with significant dangers. One notable solution to these difficulties was the establishment of commercial hubs and trading posts, such as the one created by Joseph McCoy in Abilene, Kansas. These hubs helped manage the logistics of cattle drives and provided essential services to settlers and cowboys. Another significant innovation was the invention of barbed wire by Joseph Glidden in 1873. This simple yet effective tool revolutionized land management and agriculture by making it possible to fence off land cheaply and efficiently. Barbed wire helped solve the problem of cattle damaging crops and facilitated the expansion of farming in the region. Despite these advancements, conflicts with indigenous tribes continued to be a major issue. The expansion into their territories led to frequent confrontations and displacement. Addressing these conflicts required not only practical solutions, but also a deeper understanding of the complex interactions between settlers and indigenous peoples. Impact on indigenous peoples. The expansion into the Wild West had a profound and often devastating impact on indigenous tribes. Many tribes were forcibly relocated from their ancestral lands to make way for settlers and development. This displacement led to significant disruptions in their traditional ways of life and frequent conflicts with the encroaching settlers and federal troops. Tribes such as the Sioux, Cheyenne, and Navajo were particularly affected, facing battles over land and resources. The arrival of settlers and the establishment of military forts often led to violent confrontations. Indigenous peoples adapted to these new conditions by developing skills in horse riding and firearms, but the overall impact of westward expansion was largely detrimental to their traditional cultures and territories. Understanding the impact on indigenous peoples provides a critical perspective on the history of the Wild West. It highlights the complexities and often tragic consequences of expansion and settlement, offering a more complete picture of the era that goes beyond the traditional cowboy narratives. Development of cities. Cities in the Wild West, though small and often rudimentary, played essential roles in the development of frontier life. They often grew around key economic activities such as mining, cattle trading, or transportation hubs like railroads. Cities like Abilene became critical centers for commerce and trade, facilitating the movement of goods and people across the frontier. These emerging cities required infrastructure and services to support their growing populations. Professions such as sheriffs, judges, and merchants were crucial in maintaining order and providing necessary goods and services. The growth of these cities marked a shift from the purely rugged frontier to more structured and organized communities. As these cities developed, new roles and professions also emerged to meet the needs of their inhabitants. Teachers, blacksmiths, and medical practitioners became integral to daily life, contributing to a more organized and functional community. Despite the challenges, the growth of these cities reflected the resilience and determination of those who settled and built new lives in the Wild West. Education and daily life. Education in the Wild West, while basic, was an important aspect of life for children and families. Schools were often small, single-room structures where children of different ages learned fundamental skills such as reading, writing, and arithmetic. The curriculum also included local history and practical skills necessary for life on the frontier. Daily life in the Wild West was marked by self-sufficiency and hard work. Families grew their own food, tended to livestock, and maintained their homes with limited resources. Despite the harsh conditions, community gatherings and social events provided opportunities for relaxation and connection. Infrastructure was minimal, with transportation relying on horses and wagons, and communication often limited to mail carried by horseback. Despite these limitations, the sense of community and the perseverance of frontier families helped shape a unique and enduring way of life. Understanding these aspects offers a more complete view of the challenges and adaptations required to thrive in the Wild West. Crime and security. Crime and security were ongoing concerns in the Wild West, with frequent incidents of cattle rustling, train robberies, and other forms of theft. The lack of effective law enforcement meant that many people had to take matters into their own hands, with bounty hunters and vigilantes playing a significant role in maintaining order. The presence of outlaws and criminal gangs added to the sense of danger and instability. However, the code of honor among cowboys and settlers helped to manage conflicts and enforce some level of justice. Despite the rough conditions, many communities developed their own systems of order and justice. The reality of crime and security in the Wild West was more complex than the dramatic portrayals often seen in movies. The daily struggle to maintain safety and order reflects the broader challenges faced by those living in such a dynamic and often perilous environment. So, what did you think about delving into the true history of the Wild West? Surprising, isn't it? Reality is much more complex and fascinating than the legends and myths we usually hear. Now that you've discovered the true stories of courage, perseverance, and the challenges that shaped this era, are you ready to apply these lessons to your life, facing your own challenges with the same courage demonstrated by cowboys? If you feel inspired by these stories and want to continue learning more about the Wild West, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. This way, you won't miss any of our future videos. We look forward to embarking on this journey of discovery with you.